Hello, fifth graders. This is one of our last two lessons in Unit 5. It is a two-part lesson. Today we are talking about fraction division, part 1. On your whiteboards, would you please number 1 to 3? Remember, I want you to think about fractions as division. So what is 1/3 of 1/2? What is 1/4 of 1/5? We've drawn lots of boxes for this. And what is 1/2 of 1/4? Go ahead and write your answers, please. Remember, you're expected to do this. This is how practice gets something mastered, a skill mastered. So when you add on to this as a sixth grader, you have a solid foundation. Don't just watch. All right, number 1. 1/3 of 1/2 is 1/6. 1/4 of 1/5 is 1/20. And 1/2 of 1/4 is 1/8. Erase your whiteboard. Number 1 to 3 again. This time you are taking 2/3 of 1/2, 3/4 of 1/5, and 5/6 of 1/3. Go ahead and write down your answer. Pause the video as needed. Number 1, 2/3 of 1/2 is 2/6. 3/4 of 1/5 is 3/20. And 5/6 of 1/3 is 5/18. I hope those multiplication facts are so ingrained in your brain they just come out so quickly. All right, still on your whiteboard, solve the following problems. Let's start with number 1. You can use a drawing, a number line, or fraction circle pieces to help you. Let's go ahead and do a drawing. So a 6-meter rope is cut into 3 equal pieces. How long is each piece? Would you please draw out a picture? Number 1. Pause the video. Well, if you have 1 meter, 6 meters, and you're going to cut it into 3 equal pieces, you would have 2 more here, and 2 more here, because 2 plus 2 meters plus 2 meters gives you 6 meters in all, and you would have 3 equal pieces. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now, take a meter rope and divide it into 3 equal pieces. How long is each rope? Go ahead and draw a picture as needed. We know that this would be in 3 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3. So 1/3, 2/3. So 1 meter, divided into 3 equal parts is 1/3. And lastly, a 1/2 meter rope is cut into 3 equal pieces. How long is each piece? I'm going to begin by drawing a number line. Here's 0 meters. Here's a 1/2 meter. We're going to cut it into 3 equal pieces. What would each of these pieces be considered? It'd be considered 1/3. 1/3 of what? 1/3 of 1/2. Our answer has to be smaller than a 1/2 because we're taking 1/2 and dividing it by 3. So what is 1/3 of 1/2? 1/6. Still on our whiteboards, Jerome is making banana walnut bread. Do you like walnut bread? Banana walnut bread? The recipe calls for 1/3 cup of walnuts. Would you please write 1/3 on your whiteboard? Jerome mixes the batter and pours it into 2 small bread tins. If he splits the walnuts equally between the 2 tins, how many cups of walnuts will be in each tin. So we're figuring out what is 1/3, and he's going to divide them up in half into 2. So he's dividing them in half, one in one tin, one in the other tin. So if we take, do you remember how we did this? 1/3, we did this a lot at the very beginning, and then divide it in half, shading 1/2. So 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 2 is 6. 1/6, cup. 1/6 of a cup. Let's go ahead and move into our math journal. We'll be on page 188. 188. Solving fraction division problems. For problems 1 and 2, write a number model using a letter for the unknown. Solve, showing your solution strategy with representations or drawings. Summarize your work with a division number model. Check your answer using multiplication and write a number sentence to show how you checked. So what we'll do is we'll begin by drawing a picture. I think that's the best way for us to begin to visually see it all. So, number 1, 2 students share 1/4 of a stick of clay. How much of the stick will each student get? Let's go ahead and draw the stick. We know that they only have 1/4 of that stick of clay. So let's go ahead and shade in only 1/4 of it. So it must be a pretty large brick of it. Now, 2 students are sharing it, so we have to divide that in half. So this is student 1 and this is student 2. So each one gets how many? 1 section, because this is student 1, this is student 2, and how many equal parts are there? There are 8 equal parts. So the number model would be 1/4 divided by 2 kids gives us C for clay. That's what we solve for. So each student will get 1/8. It's not asking how much they both will get, how much will each one get. A summary model would be to take 1/4 divided by 2 students gives us 1/8. If we want to check using multiplication, we're going to go in reverse. So we're going to take the answer, 1/8, times 2, and we should get 1/4. That's what we should end up with. So 1 times 2 is 2/8. Another way to say that is 1/4. We can divide each one by 2 to get an equivalent fraction. Number 2. 3 families equally share 1/3 of a community garden space. How much of the community garden space does each family use? So let's draw that plot of ground. And they're sharing 1/3 of it. So we have to take that community garden space and divide into thirds. Those 3 families only get to share 1/3 of it. Now we have 3 families who are dividing that up. So I need to now divide that into 3 equal segments. This will be for family 1, family 2, and family 3. So how much does each family get? Well, they get 1. And how many equal parts are there? How many equal boxes? There are 9. So the number model would look like this. 1/3 of the garden space is being divided by 3 families. And we can put G for garden. Now let's go ahead and put our solution in place of the variable. 1/3 divided by 3 equals 1/9. Check using multiplication. So I'm going to start with 1/9. 1/9. Since I'm working in reverse, I'm going to multiply by 3. Gives me 3/9. which is the same as 1/3. Divide each one by 3 and you get an equivalent fraction. When you divide a fraction by a whole number greater than 1, is the quotient, which is another word to say answer when you divide, is the quotient larger or smaller than the fraction? So when you divide a fraction by a whole number greater than 1, is the quotient larger or smaller than the fraction? If you need more time to write, remember just to pause. So the quotient, the answer, is smaller than the fraction because you are dividing up the fraction into an equal, and that's important, an equal number, I'm just going to put the symbol for number, of smaller parts. Right. Moving on to page 189. 189. Feeding a blue whale. Blue whales are the largest animals on Earth. A blue whale can grow to more than 30 meters in length and can weigh more than 180 metric tons. Despite its enormous size, a blue whale mainly eats tiny shrimp-like animals called krill. So here is a picture of a blue whale, and that thing is massive, and they eat these tiny little krills. So if you look at it, you can see the size of it compared to that person's fingertip. The table shows the average amount of krill eaten by a blue whale during the feeding season. Write the data shown in the table as ordered pairs. Plot the points on the grid and connect them with a line. Now, in 2 days, they eat 10 metric tons of krill. So the ordered pair would be 2, 7. In 4 days, they eat 14 metric tons. So our ordered pair would be 4, 14. In 6 days, they eat 21 metric tons. So our ordered pair would be 6, 21. So you may wonder, what does a metric ton compare to? So a shark, a missile, an alligator, the Liberty Bell, these would be approximately 1 metric ton. But just to give you an idea, so a blue whale has to eat the weight of 7 missiles every 2 days. It says use the graph to answer the questions. Number 1, about how many metric tons of krill does a blue whale eat in 1 day? Well, let's go ahead first of all and plot those points. So we go over to, remember, you always go over. Think about moving a ladder. You always bring the ladder to where you want it, move it over, and then you go up the ladder. So 2, 7 over 2, up 7, over 4, up 14. It's a little bit small for me. Over 6, up 21. So what we want to do is you'll be able to do this a little bit easier on your math journal page. So find a straight edge and draw a line connecting all of those points. You'll do a much better job than I will, because if I lay something down, it marks it. So about how many metric tons does a blue whale eat in one day? So if we go over to 1, here's 1 right here, over 1. It goes about right there, which I would say about 3 to 4 metric tons. Number 2, about how many metric tons of krill does blue whale eat in a week? So that's 7 days. So let's go up from 7. I'm just going to draw a line because it makes it easier to follow. I would say about 25 metric tons. If I go over, it's about 25. About how many days does it take a blue whale to eat 28 metric tons of krill? So I'm going to go across to the 28. I'm going to go then all the way down. Oops. I go down. You can probably do this a little bit better. Yours is a little bit larger. Looks like about 8 days. About how many days does it take a blue whale to eat 10 metric tons of krill? So I'm going to go to this number, 10, and over, then go straight down. Looks like about 3 days. All right, make sure that you take pictures of your math journal pages and upload it to Schoology.